Well, it looks like I owe an apology. On behalf of the entire mental health industry, I would like to say I am sorry to all the parents out there. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the specific ways that we mental health providers are falling short in our goal to help parents help their children. More importantly, I'll talk about the things you as a parent can do to help your children. It's no secret that parenting is an incredibly difficult job. In my work as a clinical psychologist, I see the struggles that parents face every single day. They worry about whether or not their children are going to stay safe. They're worried about whether or not their children are going to have the skills that they need in order to handle the stresses of life. They're worried about the general question of whether or not they're just screwing it up as a parent. All of this is coming on top of the fact that they have to deal with the stresses that every single person needs to deal with, because every parent is first and foremost an individual. We've all got life stressors, we've all got things that we're struggling with, so parents need to struggle with that, as well as a whole nother crop of problems that come with taking care of at least one other individual. Parents are understandably struggling, and they need some help. A report was issued by the Surgeon General of the United States earlier this year regarding mental health and parenting specifically. The numbers were staggering. We find that 33% of parents are dealing with symptoms of depression or anxiety, and that compares to 20% of adults who are not parents. So parents are more likely to be suffering from depression and anxiety. And many of these parents are also dealing with these problems on top of the fact that they don't have the social supports that they have had in the past. 65%, nearly 2 out of 3 parents, report significant feelings of loneliness. And that number skyrockets for single-parent households. For those parents who are raising children alone, those feelings of loneliness jump up to 77%. Is it any surprise that parents are looking for help that unfortunately they haven't been able to receive? From my experience, I can see 3 primary reasons why parents are really struggling over the past few years. First, there's a shortage of mental health providers. There just aren't enough clinicians to go around. In the United States today, 169 million people live in what we call a mental health services provider shortage area. That means these communities don't have enough providers to deliver even the bare minimum services that are required by the people who live there. This means that people who need appointments are not able to get help in a timely manner. So you can imagine, as a parent, when you're struggling, you're not able to find the resources for yourself, and even more importantly, you're not able to find resources for your children. And this is especially problematic because of issue number 2. We are currently in the midst of a child and adolescent mental health crisis in the United States. Currently, 1 out of 5, 20% of children meet the criteria for a diagnosable mental health condition. Now, not all 20% of them are in treatment and receiving help, but they do meet the criteria for receiving those services. And this problem is only getting worse. Over the past 3 years, there's been a 32% increase in the number of adolescents diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. And what's particularly scary about this is when children and adolescents don't get the care that they need, unfortunately, significant safety concerns can arise. In 2023, 19% of adolescents seriously considered ending their own life. And even worse, 9% actually made that attempt. With these numbers in mind, is it any surprise that parents are stuck and they don't know exactly what to do in order to help themselves and to help their children? And that leads us to point number 3 of why parents are struggling so much to help their children navigate mental health problems, and that's that parents just aren't equipped. Now, when we grew up, mental health was not something that was openly talked about. Were there people that experienced depression and anxiety and trauma? Of course there were. But it's not something that we talked about broadly as a society, and many of us did not grow up in families where it was discussed openly. So parents are not used to having to navigate these sorts of problems. On top of that, we live in a world that is vastly different than the world that we grew up in. Technology has changed, society has changed, and now there are so many more problems that children and adolescents are needing to navigate that we as parents never had to deal with when we were their age. And in addition to that, or perhaps because of that, We find that children and adolescents are growing up much faster than they used to, both literally and figuratively. We find that children are entering puberty at a younger age than they ever have before, and they're also being exposed to much more adult content than has ever needed to be dealt with in the past. Children are not able to stay children as long as we would like them to. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that the mental health industry owes parents an apology. And the reason why is because the industry as a whole is not making a dent in the current problems that parents are facing. And to understand why this is, we need to take a look at the way that the mental health services are delivered in our country today. Mental health places an emphasis on individualized treatment for the delivery of services. And what that means is that if you or your child comes to see me as a psychologist, I'm going to sit down, get to know you, get to know the situation, get to know what the specific goals are, and then I'm going to create a treatment plan specifically for you or for any other individual that I'm meeting with. This is great, and this is the gold standard for care. I'm a big advocate of that. But there's a significant drawback. You see, we talked about the mental health services gap. Individualized treatment and individualized care is fantastic for those who are able to get those services. But what about those who live in one of those shortage areas? What about those who can't find a provider to meet with? What about the people who can't afford to pay the deductible or the coinsurance, or maybe have to pay out of pocket for services? What about those individuals who don't even feel like mental health is a good fit for them or for their child? Each of these individuals is just left out in the cold. Now, you would think that with the advent of technology, we would be able to do a better job and not do things the same way that we've been doing for the past 100+ years. But the reality is, even with the technology that we have, we're not addressing this specific problem. So this is why I see a failure within the traditional mental health delivery system. We are not doing a good job of connecting people to the care that they need. Now, luckily, there's hope. You see, many, if not most, mental health problems rely on just a core set of foundational principles. What this means is that no matter what your problem is, maybe you're dealing with depression or anxiety, or you're dealing with relationship problems, no matter what it is, there are just a few things that absolutely everybody needs to learn. So everybody needs to learn what emotions are and where they come from. Everybody needs to learn some tools and tips in order to deal more effectively with the emotions that they're feeling. Everybody needs to learn improved communication skills. No matter what your problem is, this is almost always going to be the starting point for me as a psychologist. So what does this have to do with the core problem that we're facing as a society as it relates to mental health? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You see, although delivering services in an individualized manner is a very effective way to help people get better, it's not a very efficient way given the fact that most problems need a core set of principles as a starting point. So what that means in practice is that if you come and see me, you're going to learn those core sets of principles as our starting point. And then your spouse is going to come see me, and they're going to learn those same core principles as a starting point. And then maybe your child is going to come see me, and your child is going to learn those same foundational principles. Everybody has to come in individually to get the same information. It's not a very efficient way to get the services out to people who need them. It would be like requiring everybody to get an individualized dental appointment in order to get fluoride treatment to strengthen their teeth. Now, that would work, everybody would get the treatment, but wouldn't it be easier to just put the fluoride into the municipal water supply so that everybody gets it because everybody needs it? It's a heck of a lot easier to mass distribute information that everybody benefits from. And this is exactly what mental health needs. We don't need to require everybody to go into individualized treatment in order to learn the basic skills that absolutely every human being needs, especially the parents who are currently unable to get access to that care. All of this is the reason why I do what I do on this channel. Now, allow me to walk you down the path of what I see as the solution to this problem that we're facing in regards to the mental health industry, parents and their inability to help their children and help themselves, and the mental health crisis that we're currently seeing for children and adolescents. First, we need to understand that parents need more help to effectively and efficiently help their children. Second, parents also need help in learning how to more effectively and efficiently help themselves. Parenting is an inherently stressful job, and parents need to learn additional skills in order to balance those stresses with the stresses that they are feeling in their individual life just living. Next, we need to understand that the mental health industry is never going to be able to fill the gap that currently exists. There are just too few providers out there to continue offering services on an individualized basis. But that's okay, because fourth, most mental health services rest upon a set of core foundational principles that are relevant to absolutely everyone, regardless of the problem. And what that means is, point number 5, this broad-based need for core foundational principles and understanding means that it's perfectly suited to a platform like YouTube. So everything we do on this channel is going to be geared towards filling in the gap that currently exists between parents and getting the help that they need for their children. Also, helping parents get the help that they need for themselves. All right, sounds great, Neil. Where do we start? Well, there are a few things that I want you to do starting right now. First, I want you to learn as much as you possibly can about mental health and learn about the best practices that go along with parenting. Now, this is going to be a fantastic repository for all of the best knowledge about helping yourself and helping your children. So I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Get those notifications for when we post new information. All of it is going to be designed specifically for you and what you and your children need. Next, I need you to start practicing this stuff. It's not enough to simply learn about it. You need to actually put it into effect. So everything we talk about here is going to be geared towards action. I want you to take this information and not just think about it, but actually start using it right away. Finally, what can you do right now? Take a deep breath. Relax. You've got this. This is a crisis. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. The mental health industry has fallen short in all of the ways that I've described. And things are difficult for parents right now. Things are difficult for children. But the information is there. It's available. All we need to do is get you connected to it. So as we move forward, I want you to do so with optimism, with hope. We've got this, and I'm going to be with you each step of the way. So as we wrap up today's video, I'm going to introduce a closing format that I'll utilize in each of my videos. I call it the 3-2-1 approach. First, I'm going to tell you 3 things that I see as the most important takeaways from that particular video. Next, I'm going to ask you to spend some time pondering and thinking about it. And then finally, I'm going to ask you to pick a single thing that you're going to practice and focus on over the coming weeks. So here are the 3 most important takeaways that I see for today's video. First, mental health is a huge and relatively new burden that parents have to worry about. In the past, we didn't talk openly about mental health, but nowadays, it's an issue that we can't ignore. Point number 2, this mental health crisis is not just affecting the children, but rather it's having a direct impact upon the parents themselves. As parents find it difficult or impossible to get help for their children's mental health problems, that dramatically increases the stress that they are feeling. You can imagine as a parent how difficult it would be to find yourself unable to get the care that your child needs. And many of you watching the video today are in that specific situation. We need to make sure that we're getting the right kind of help for those specific problems. Finally, we need to recognize that the mental health industry is just not going to be able to fix this problem. Until and unless the mental health industry gets away from this focus on individualized treatment, there's always going to be a shortage of mental health providers. So it's going to be necessary for you parents to learn the skills that are necessary in order to assist your children in dealing with their problems, and also to learn how to more effectively deal with your own personal mental health issues. Now that we've talked about what I believe are the 3 most important takeaways, I need you to take 2 minutes to think about what you see as the most important takeaways. What's going to have the most impact on your life? What is the information that you can use in order to help yourself and to help your children navigate the problems that we've talked about today? Once you've taken a couple minutes to think about the relevance of the information we've shared today to you and to your family, Then I want you to focus in and pick just one thing. And then I want you to take that one thing and I want you to tell me what it is in the comments section down below. Now, the reason why I want you to pick just one thing and share it in the comments section is twofold. First, by picking one thing, you're not going to overwhelm yourself by trying to become perfect in one fell swoop. We are not equipped as people to just automatically become good at a lot of different things. And we have talked about a lot of different things today. So by focusing in on just one, you'll be able to focus in on that one discrete step. One thing that you can practice, one thing that you won't be overwhelmed by. And as you start to get good at that one thing, then you can add the next thing in and get good at that thing. And then you can add the next thing. This is the progress that we're looking for. None of us are going to become perfect immediately, but all of us can improve step by step. Now, the reason I want you to share it in the comments section down below is not just because that helps my engagement with the YouTube algorithm, which is true, it does, but it's also a concrete step that you will be taking, which will make it much more likely that you'll actually follow through and work on that thing. Any of us can just sit and think about the things that we could be working on. By typing it into the comments section, you're actually going to be doing something. Research has been clear. When you take that first step and actually disclose to another person what it is that you're going to be working on, it makes it far more likely that you're actually going to follow through and do that. Now, this really is important to me. I want to make sure that people are actually moving in the right direction and getting the help that they need. So I want to encourage you to actually take these steps. Consider those 3 most important things that I talked about. Take the 2 minutes to ponder and consider the ways that you could use those things in your life, and then just pick that one thing that you're going to focus on and type it into the comments. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reviewing each of those comments that I put to find out what it is that you all are going to be working on. And then I'm going to pick one out of all the comments that are left, and I'm going to make personalized contact with that individual. I'm going to find out how that individual is doing on the one thing that they wanted to work on, and then offer whatever assistance I can. Act as a coach, so to speak, to help them overcome whatever obstacles and to give some guidance on ways that they might make additional improvements. Now, hopefully this is something that you all are taking seriously, that you'll be able to type into that comment section, because I really promise that this is something that will help you moving forward. Of course, I wouldn't be a real YouTuber if I didn't take the time to mention how important it is that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications to find out when we have more content that's issued. This is something that really helps us continue to produce this content that hopefully is going to be of value to you and countless other parents moving forward. So I'm going to let you get to it because you've got homework. Until next time, take care. Also, if you haven't already, I'd encourage you to take a moment to go to the channel homepage, go through the videos that we've got out there, find the ones that are most relevant to you, to your situation in your family, or the things that are most relevant to helping your children. There's a lot of great information out there, and I'm looking to get you connected with what's right for you.